David Des Roches is an associate professor at the National Defense University. He joins us now from Washington. David, welcome to the program. Thanks for your time. First of all, if you don't mind, an overall assessment about where we are right now as you see it.
Well, I think that the Ukrainians are trading land for time. I think that the Russians are making slow gains, but significant gains. They're certainly not going as fast as they wanted to. I'm hoping that the Ukrainians will be able to, at a point of their choosing, attack the Russian supply columns and be able to reclaim those areas that the Russians are occupying. It appears that the Russians have committed almost all of their combat forces in the area, and there are indications that they're stripping other garrisons, even like the tank training schools for vehicles to go in to replace their losses. It looks like they've lost about 5% of the materiel they've committed to Ukraine. But it's unclear how much Ukraine has lost and how long Ukraine can keep up this kind of battle.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, any numbers we have are unverifiable, and the Ukrainians are not giving the numbers of their military casualties. What
Yeah.
about this confusion between Poland and the United States? Wasn't the whole idea an American one originally, to get Polish fighter jets to be helping Ukraine, and then the Americans would replace those older fighter jets with newer ones? Wasn't that the original American idea?
I'm not sure if it was an American idea or a Polish idea. I mean, it's a good way for the Poles to recapitalize their fleet in something that's more NATO compatible. You don't want to have a NATO country that's dependent upon Russia for its top line military thing. But yeah, I tell you, I'm a little confused. And I listened to the Newland hearings. And, it was obviously that the legislature, which is usually better attuned to American public opinion than the president, was very supportive of getting whatever weaponry we could to the Poles. This idea that we don't want to provoke Russia, you say, well, okay, if the United States is doing that, then why did we have the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff fly to deliver missiles to the Ukrainians? So it's confusing, and I think that the members of Congress, in particular, will ask for this confusion to be dispelled. The only thing I can think is that there must have been some difficulty with retrofitting, with removing the command and control systems, the avionics. There's probably some sort of NATO encryption stuff that we did not want to risk being captured by the Russians in the Ukraine, and that it might have been prohibitive to take those out of the aircraft prior to transferring to the Ukrainians. But that's a guess at this point.
Should the Americans and other Western allies be sending air defense systems? I mean, this was something I was wondering a couple of weeks ago, and then suddenly it's appeared back in the news over the past couple of days. And of course, one immediately thinks of Patriot missiles. I mean, you started by giving us a detail of what we believe are Russian setbacks and Ukrainian
Yeah.
victories. How much of that could have been achieved without Western weapons, and shouldn't there be more weaponry like air defense systems being delivered?
Well, I can say air defense systems. We've seen Stinger. We've seen Russian systems that are held by native countries. Patriot's a little different. There's a couple problems with Patriot. First, it's a point defense system. Secondly, it takes a long time to train people to do that. And the most effective weapon is not the weapon with the best capabilities. It's the weapon that can be operated by the forces using it. I think a third consideration with advanced weaponry like Patriot is the possibility of compromise if it should be captured. That comes into playing with it. But so far, most of the damage we've seen has been coming from cruise missiles, caliber cruise missiles, which Patriot can be effective against, but not on as wide a scale as we think. And if the Russians are hitting cities, usually Patriot defends a point, so like a specific airfield or a command bunker, not an entire city. So I don't think that would solve the problem given the indiscriminate Russian attacks on civilian targets.
You'll know full well that Vladimir Zelensky for the past couple of weeks has been asking for mercenaries with combat experience to come and fight on behalf of his country. There's an advert on a website called Silent Professionals, which is offering, the Ukrainian government is offering up to $2,000 a day for fighters to come and engage in the battle against the Russians. How much more complicated will that make matters?
Well, I think it'll make it complicated for these guys if they're captured by the Russian forces. Honestly, I'm not sure. I mean, there may be a few guys out there that are useful, but most of the people are basically like me, only having gone through an expensive divorce. Folks who've served in the military a long time ago and are probably a little bit too old. The problem with this sort of call is that there are a few people that you can get that are really worthwhile. But in general, you get young people who don't have the skill set that you really need, or you have old people who had the skill set, but just are not, they're beyond the prime fighting age. So I think this is more about raising public awareness and trying to create this narrative that there's an international support for Ukraine, which I think is a true narrative. But it's sort of like the formation of the foreign brigades in the Spanish Civil War, where it has more of a political impact than any tactical battlefield impact.
David, always appreciate the analysis. Thank you so much indeed. David Des Roches in Washington.